Hello everyone and welcome back to Pan-Africscope channel. Today we're examining one of the most significant political transformations of the 21st century, how Xi Jinping became China's most powerful leader in generations. Every 5 years, China holds the National Congress of the Communist Party. It's a meticulously orchestrated event where the country's top leadership is revealed. The order matters, whoever emerges first leads the party for the next term. In October 2022, Xi Jinping appeared first for an unprecedented third time. He had already abolished the two-term limit that constrained every leader since Mao Zedong. This wasn't just unusual, it was historic. No Chinese leader since Mao himself has wielded such concentrated power. But here's what makes Xi's story remarkable. As a teenager, he was exiled to the countryside, condemned to poverty and manual labor. His family was destroyed by the very political system he now controls. So how did someone who was once a victim of the Communist Party become its most dominant force? Let's trace this extraordinary journey. To understand Xi Jinping, we need to understand the Chinese Communist Party's foundational mythology, particularly the Long March of 1934 to 1935. During China's Civil War, communist forces found themselves surrounded by nationalist troops. They were trapped, starving, and facing annihilation. On October 16, 1934, approximately 130,000 communist soldiers and civilians broke through enemy lines and began a desperate retreat across China. This became known as the Long March, a year-long trek covering thousands of miles through some of the most hostile terrain imaginable. Mountains, rivers, enemy attacks, starvation, and disease killed the vast majority. Fewer than 8,000 of the original participants survived. Among those who survived was a man named Xi Jinping, Xi Jinping's father. He had established a guerrilla base in northern China that provided refuge to the exhausted marchers. The Long March also solidified Mao Zedong's leadership. Initially sidelined for his guerrilla warfare tactics, Mao was restored to military command during the march when conventional strategies failed catastrophically. His unorthodox approach, avoiding direct confrontation, using terrain strategically, saved what remained of the communist forces. When the survivors finally reached safety, Mao emerged as the de facto leader of both the military and the party. This would shape Chinese politics for generations. Before we continue, let's clarify how authority functions in the Chinese Communist Party. The highest official body is the Central Committee, which makes major policy decisions. Within it sits the Politburo, a smaller group of elite officials. But China has something unique: the Politburo Standing Committee, an even more exclusive circle that holds ultimate power. This standing committee controls the Central Military Commission, which oversees all defense matters. It dictates policy for the entire party and government. Typically numbering between 5 and 9 members, these individuals represent the absolute peak of Chinese political power. Mao occupied the supreme position in this structure. At the 1945 National Congress, the party institutionalized his ideology as Mao Zedong Thought, making it the unquestionable foundation of party doctrine. This meant Mao's decisions couldn't be challenged, his word was law. He surrounded himself with Long March survivors, men who owed their lives to his leadership and remained fiercely loyal. This included figures like Liu Shaoqi and Zhou Enlai, who would hold critical government positions. When Mao declared victory in 1949 and established the People's Republic of China, he had to create an actual government to implement party decisions. The solution was the State Council, headed by the Premier, typically a standing committee member. The party would make decisions, the government would execute them. Mao maintained power by appointing loyalists regardless of competence. This ensured nobody could challenge him, though it often resulted in disastrous policy outcomes. Mao's unchecked authority led to catastrophic policies that caused tens of millions of deaths through famine and persecution. His final attempt to cement his legacy was the Cultural Revolution, a violent campaign beginning in 1966 to purge anyone insufficiently devoted to Maoist ideology. The Red Guards, militant youth groups fanatical about Maoism, enforced this purge with terrifying zeal. People were publicly humiliated, imprisoned, or executed. Even high-ranking officials weren't safe. Liu Shaoqi, once Mao's designated successor, died in prison after being denounced as a traitor. Xi Jinping, Xi Jinping's father and a Long March hero, was also targeted. He was detained, publicly criticized, and imprisoned for 8 years. As a result, 15-year-old Xi Jinping was expelled from his privileged school in Beijing and sent to the countryside for re-education. He lived in a cave, performed exhausting manual labor, and struggled with inadequate food. The political system had crushed his family. This experience would profoundly shape Xi's worldview, but his response wasn't rebellion, it was something more calculated. Mao died in 1976. His successor, Deng Xiaoping, had himself been purged during the Cultural Revolution. Having experienced Mao's tyranny firsthand, Deng made fundamental changes to prevent such concentrated power again. In 1981, the party passed a historic resolution condemning Mao's excesses and committing to collective leadership. Power would be distributed among multiple leaders rather than consolidated in one person. Deng maintained control over the military but never became head of state or party chairman. He created an advisory commission and led from that position, exercising influence without claiming supreme authority. This power-sharing arrangement worked. Deng opened China to foreign investment and market reforms while maintaining one-party rule. These policies launched 3 decades of extraordinary economic growth, transforming China into the world's second-largest economy and an emerging superpower. The Deng era proved that distributed leadership could be effective. Multiple officials shared responsibilities, creating policy innovation and some decentralization that fueled economic prosperity. This system remained in place through several leadership transitions, with 2-term limits ensuring regular turnover at the top. But then came Xi Jinping. Despite having his family destroyed by the Communist Party, Xi joined it during the Cultural Revolution's final years. Why? Because he understood that within this system, power was everything. Without it, you were nothing. But Xi took an unconventional path to power. While competitors fought viciously for positions in Beijing during the 1980s and 1990s, Xi left the capital entirely. He spent nearly 2 decades in rural provinces where competition was minimal. In Hebei, a poor region outside Beijing, he rose to party secretary. In Fujian, a heavily militarized coastal province, he again reached the top position and cultivated relationships with military leaders. In Zhejiang, he built support among civilian party officials. This provincial strategy accomplished several things. First, Xi advanced rapidly in areas with fewer ambitious rivals. Second, he built a reputation as a humble, hard-working official willing to serve in difficult posts. Third, he created a network of loyal supporters throughout China who would prove invaluable later. His final stop before returning to Beijing was Shanghai in 2007. He rehabilitated the city's reputation after a corruption scandal, demonstrating reliability and orthodoxy to party leadership. Just 7 months later, Xi was promoted to the Politburo Standing Committee, one of the 9 most powerful people in China. Senior leaders wanted a princeling, the son of a revolutionary hero, who seemed non-threatening. Xi appeared to fit perfectly, ambitious enough to be effective, but not so ambitious as to be dangerous. They were wrong. When Xi became general secretary in 2012, he immediately began eliminating potential rivals through an aggressive anti-corruption campaign. Hundreds of senior officials and military officers were arrested. While corruption was real, the campaign strategically targeted Xi's opponents. He filled vacant positions with personal loyalists, creating a network of officials who owed their careers to him. By the end of his first term, Xi controlled both the party and military more completely than any leader since Mao. During his second term, he introduced 3 new standing committee members with direct personal ties to him. In 2021, Xi achieved something remarkable. The party passed a 3rd historic resolution, only the 2nd since Mao's era. This resolution established Xi Jinping Thought as the core of party ideology, placing Xi's ideas on the same level as Mao's. His political philosophy became unchallengeable doctrine. Combined with eliminating term limits in 2018, Xi had effectively made himself leader for life. At the 2022 National Congress, Xi unveiled a standing committee composed entirely of loyalists. He had removed the last senior officials with ties to previous leadership. No dissenting voices remained. Under Xi's leadership, China has become more assertive internationally, claiming disputed territories in the South China Sea, threatening Taiwan, eliminating Hong Kong's autonomy, and oppressing ethnic minorities like the Uyghurs. Domestically, surveillance and censorship have intensified. Xi has prioritized party control over economic liberalization, reversing some Deng-era reforms. The economy has grown significantly. Military spending and GDP have more than doubled during Xi's tenure. Average incomes have risen substantially. China has become a genuine rival to American global influence. But Xi's zero-COVID policy during the pandemic sparked unprecedented public protests in 2022. His reversal of that failed policy revealed cracks in his authority. Economic challenges now threaten the party's legitimacy. Despite these difficulties, Xi faces no meaningful opposition. He has constructed a power structure where nobody can challenge him. Experts believe Xi will remain China's paramount leader for life. Xi Jinping's journey from exiled teenager to unchallengeable authority is one of the most consequential political stories of our time. He learned from his family's persecution that power is everything. He studied Mao's methods for concentrating authority while avoiding his predecessor's mistakes. By patiently building support outside Beijing's cutthroat politics, Xi positioned himself as the perfect non-threatening candidate. Once in power, he systematically dismantled the collective leadership structure that had defined post-Mao China. The result is a China more centralized, more assertive, and more tightly controlled than at any point since Mao's death. Whether this consolidation of power proves sustainable, particularly amid economic headwinds and an aging population, remains one of the great questions shaping the 21st century. What's clear is that Xi Jinping has fundamentally altered China's trajectory, and the world must understand how he got there. Thanks for watching. If you found this analysis valuable, please subscribe and let me know in the comments what political or economic topics you'd like covered next.